Channel 5 Network, this is MorningLine with Nick Barris.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to MorningLine. I am Ben Hall, filling in for Nick Barris. It is great to be here. I always love doing MorningLine. It's fun to do Open Line, which I do at night. Now MorningLine this morning, and we certainly want to hear from you. We are very happy this morning to have a very special guest. We have with us the former First Lady of Tennessee, Andrea Conte. Thank you so much for being here.
Pleasure to be here. Thank you.
Thrilled to have you here. And you're here for a special reason. You've obviously done a great deal, but you're here because of an event that's going to be taking place this Friday. Is that right?
I'm here because of the Children's Memory Garden in Centennial Park.
Let's talk about that. This is to remember children who have died at the hands of violence, right?
That's correct.
And so how did this get started, and I guess why is this so important to you?
The garden has an interesting history. It was dedicated in 1996, and it happened because of a 6-year-old boy asking his father a question about what could he do when he heard about these 3 horrible gunshot deaths of 3 children in Nashville at that time. And his father was a landscaper, and he thought possibly of a garden to make the families feel better and have it a place of comfort. But it was that 6-year-old boy's compassion, concerned about the families who lost children.
And so, I remember was it Adrian Dickerson? Was that one of the children?
Adrian Dickerson was one of the children, Jeremiah Warfield and Alicia Coughlin.
And I bet a lot of you remember out there just how devastating that was to the city of Nashville. It
was, it really stunned the Nashville community because they happened quite close together. And it really, I have to say that Metro approved this garden almost immediately. So the Children's Memory Garden was dedicated in 1996 in Centennial Park, and at that time there were 35 children. It included the 3 children we just mentioned, but others from years before who had died because of violence. And the garden has had children remembered there every year since. But it's pretty shocking to know that January 1st of this year, there were 234 children who died because of violence. They died at the hands of someone else.
And that is, when we say die because of violence, that's what we're talking about. They were murdered. Is that what we're talking about?
They were murdered.
They were murdered.
And the causes range from arson, gunshot, strangulation, blunt trauma, abuse and neglect, stabbing. I mean, all of it's just a whole range of things. It's not any one cause.
So this is a remarkable thing. Okay, so I remember that. Adrian Dickerson and the others, it shocked the community. A 6-year-old child said, "What can we do?"
A 6-year-old child said, "What can we do?"
And then this is established in Centennial Park.
Yes.
And every year, is there a ceremony? Is there every year new names are added? Is that how it goes?
Every year new names are added. And in the beginning, this garden was very much a grassroots effort, and I think that's where a lot of its power actually comes from. So volunteers maintained the garden, people donated plant material for it. A person named Charlie Hunt, who owns Hunt Memorials, heard about the garden. He's donated stonework to the garden for over 20 years now. So people stepped up to support this garden. But unfortunately, it's not very well known outside of people who have a loved one remembered there, or outside of law enforcement or the criminal justice system. It's just not well known across Nashville.
Do you think this is a good opportunity? Do you think feel like it should be better known, right? If somebody went there I'm sure it's very moving and very meaningful if you had a child that's there. But just for someone else who's just walking around Centennial Park, if they go there, you know, what do you think they will see and feel, and what's kind of your hope there?
The feedback that I get, yes, from parents, families who have a child remember there, it's often a place of comfort. And families will often go there rather than the cemetery just because they find some solace and comfort being there. But for people who just wander in or want to see what it's all about, the feedback from them is the same feeling. It's this feeling of comfort, it's this feeling of quiet, solace, even though it's a very, very sad place in a lot of ways because of all the children that in our community that are dying from violence.
And but this year, well, go ahead.
But it means a lot to the people who know about it. When Centennial Park decided to do the restoration renovation, it's a pretty massive project there. That really was a catalyst for the garden itself to be part of that whole movement and to have some new design. It's never had professional design. So to have some new design and take a fresh look at everything. And part of that is what we are focusing on tomorrow night at our ceremony at the Centennial Arts Center. There are, as I mentioned, 234 children who have died from violence in Davidson County since dedication till this year. And yet we know the names, some of the names, maybe all the names, but we don't know who that child was. And what we're trying to do at You Have the Power is answer that question of who was this child. So we've looked at the latest, the most recent children who are being remembered in the garden, and that's 23 children from 2017 and 2018. And we've made an effort to tell the stories of those children. And we put them in a book called Voices from the Garden.
Oh, wow.
And that book will be presented to those families tomorrow night at the event.
Well, that's very powerful.
It's been powerful for everybody who's worked on this, and there's just hundreds of volunteer hours that have gone into this, and not one person walks away unaffected.
I bet.
It's very moving, and you feel like you do know these kids.
I want to delve deeper into that. You mentioned You Have the Power.
Yes.
And we haven't talked about that. We ask every guest when they come on, what do you want us to say, you know, who you are, what is your title? You have a pretty obvious one, former First Lady of Tennessee. That's pretty, but you wanted You Have the Power. So tell us, a lot of people may know about it, but what is You Have the Power?
You Have the Power was founded in early 1990s, but we were a very loose volunteer organization until 1995 when we became incorporated. And we are victim advocates. We work on not only advocacy, but education, understanding regarding victims' issues.
And yes, we've had You Had the Power on several times,
yes,
with various people. So that kind of sets the table, what we're going to talk about. We encourage you to call in. There's the number, 615-737-PLUS, 615-737-7587. We'll take a break. Be back right after this.